Good afternoon. This is James Holland with Black & Company Realtors in Abilene. And this is Our Town, a conversation with community leaders here in Abilene. And today my guest is Mike Aufdemberge. How you doing, Mike?
Good. How are you, James?
Good. Awesome. Awesome. And Mike is with Abilene Machine. He's the operations manager.
Correct.
Not general manager.
Yeah.
Right, so we got that sorted out. And basically, I'll have Mike visit a little bit with us about Abilene Machine, what it is in this community, what it does. I think a lot of people know it's out there, but maybe don't know everything that goes on. So, Mike, if you could just kind of give me an overview of the company. Let's start with that.
Well, I can kind of give you a little bit of the history to begin with. The company was actually incorporated in 1974, but actually Abilene Machine, as it exists today, started out as a salvage yard in 1980. And just over the years, because of high wear parts and remanufacturing items that need to be rebuilt in order to sell them, we've just kind of transitioned into the new and remanufactured parts as well. So for many years we were known as a salvage yard, but now we're really an aftermarket parts company. That's and right. we sell new, used, and we call them recycled aftermarket parts for tractors and combines and other agricultural equipment. And so really right now, I'd say about 75% of our business is in the new and remanufactured parts. You can kind of equate us to an AutoZone or something like that of the ag world.
Yeah, a little larger scale, like you say,
yes.
of the ag world. And so how many competitors nationwide are there of comparable size, you think?
Well, there's actually quite a bit of competition in our market, but there's 3 or 4 good-sized competitors, but we have to realize too that really when you look at it, the OEMs, like John Deere and Case IH and stuff, are actually our competitors too.
Yes.
So we've got a pretty widespread competition out there.
Yeah. And so you said that your new parts is a big part of what you do, and you might you can't really talk about the history of Abilene Machine without talking about the fire and kind of what kind of came of that. Maybe you might want to cover that and remind people of the history of what happened there and how you came out of it.
Actually, the fire was back in 2004, and it was kind of an unfortunate how it happened. I won't go into that, but we did end up losing about 15,000 square feet of warehouse space, and I'd say about 5,000 of office space, but it was pretty much the center of the office space. So it got our administrative offices, our accounting offices, and it took out quite a bit. The one thing it didn't, which we were lucky, is it didn't get our file servers or the main network. Right. And so it was quite a challenge because it did get a lot of our used parts as well. And so we made a makeshift offices in a maintenance shop and set up shop. And within 24 hours, we were answering phones, and I'd say within 48 hours, we were up and running pretty much full scale. Yeah. It was a pretty good turnaround, a lot of work. But
see, I think it was right about that time was when maybe the second time I came out and visited you at that time, because at that time you were looking at, okay, we're going to have to rebuild. What do we do about tax incentives? And
right.
So we had that discussion. I remember that walking in there and knowing what had happened. It was kind of interesting to see where people were working. Every little nook and cranny had somebody.
Yeah, we stacked in there pretty good.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
But always the good side out of it too is it'd be really hard to justify building a new building just randomly. Right. But we did end up then moving our location out along Old 40, which everybody can see now. Before, everybody thought we were a machine shop up the road because it just said Abilene Machine and you couldn't really see us. So it did give us a presence and allowed us to combine a lot of offices. We were like a spider web out into warehouses with offices and everything. So now we're kind of under one roof with a lot of our new and remanufactured parts and stuff. So it's helped a lot. It's helped with efficiency and communication. And so in the end, it was good. And we moved into that building in 2005. So this is our 10th anniversary this year for moving in.
Well, that's cool. And the new parts has kind of grown since then, correct? I mean, that's
where
bigger part of
we grow a lot, and something that you might have gotten to, but we have locations in South Carolina and California, and we've just opened up a new location up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Just opened up last fall, and then we also have another warehouse point in Montana. So we have a pretty wide coverage, and we're the headquarters or the main distribution point. So
Yep.
it obviously takes a little bit of warehouse space to do that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think that's kind of interesting that you know, a homegrown company has branched off into all these different states, and so the impact on the local economy of, you know, the money you're bringing in from outside the community into salaries and purchasing. I know you purchase a lot of parts from local manufacturers too. You know, people who are machining in their garage or whatever, they've got one part that they're making, and so you know, there's a lot of impacts people just don't even think about as far as that's concerned.
Yeah,
So.
and we have about, in all of our companies, we have around, it's a little over 200 employees, but we do have in Kansas over 150.
Right.
So it is a pretty big impact when you look at it.
Yeah, yeah, and I can't remember a few years back, it seemed like you've consistently been the top 8 employers in Dickinson County. You know, you got Russell Stover, and you did have Alco, so and Great Plains, and then of course school districts in county, and you know, a lot of those governments are fairly large employers. But over there in Solomon, you got, you know, Abilene Machine close and Solomon Corp, and those are 2 of the bigger employers. So it's kind of impressive what your impact is on the community, and people don't know necessarily what goes on out there either.
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's kind of hard to know. Yeah. Without shows like this.
Yeah, sure. So of the 150 employees, I mean, you kind of talked about office space and warehouse, and what kind of what's the diversity of type of jobs that someone can find out at Abilene Machine?
Well, it's actually pretty diverse. We have obviously our sales department is pretty large, but we have an engineering department, we have an IT department, we have an HR department. We've got a lot of shop type positions too, you know, because something I didn't mention earlier is we are considered a distribution company, but we do a lot of remanufacturing there ourselves.
Right.
You know, we manufacture engines and hydraulic components and things like that, but we also do some light manufacturing. We have a fab shop where we build our own concaves for combines and things like that. So we have those mechanical type positions, we got machinist positions, we have welders, we have quite an array of jobs.
Yeah, yeah. And I was visiting with the manager of the engine rebuild shop one time, and he said that I asked him, I said, you know, because it all looks very complicated to someone who's not familiar with engines and mechanics, and I said, you know, if you start at the bottom, at what point, you know, would you be familiar enough to build an engine? And he said, if you start off as a parts washer, you know, after 2 years, you ought to know every little bit and piece there is to an engine. And he said, you know, roughly you can train to build one within that time period. So, you know, it's not that you have to have a really good skill set going into it. I mean, there's lots of things you can learn while you're out there.
Yeah, and we've had quite a few instances where we've had people that have maybe started in the teardown shop or the warehouse, and they get familiar with some of the parts, but they've moved into our sales department and other positions. So we've had a lot of advancement within the company as well.
Sure. So what's one of the biggest challenges, let's say, and let's start with employment. I mean, employee-related challenges in Dickinson County, in the region.
Well, I guess to me, obviously recruiting in a rural market can have its difficulties because we just don't have the employees to draw off of. So to me, that's one of the biggest challenges, is just trying to be, you know, trying to recruit in the rural market. And
right.
You got to try to be an employer of choice is what you kind of have to be. But other things that kind of really been some things that have added some challenges just over the last year or two is trying to stay competitive with your employee benefits as well, because of the Affordable Care Act with health care and stuff. You know, that's really added some challenges to companies because of the expense and things like that. And you're trying to also be competitive with the larger industries around, so it's a challenge.
Sure. So are there a lot of long-term employees that have been with the company for a long time? And
yeah, we've have quite a few long-term employees. I I'm hitting my 24th year this year, and I know there's quite a few that are beyond me. I would say in the office area, well, it's in the yard too. We just have a lot of longevity. I just happened to look it up, knowing that we were going to have this discussion, and our longevity, our average tenure right now is just a little bit short of 8 years. So, which we feel pretty good about.
Yeah, yeah. So I know talking with, one time on the show I had Dana Doolahary from Great Plains in here, and one of the things we were talking about was welding and some of the automation and those types of things. Are there those type of technological advances that are driving some changes or some areas of growth in the company?
Yeah, we've had a lot of growth in our, what I called it our fab shop earlier. That's just what we call it, but where we do what I call our light manufacturing. And a lot of, we do have a lot of, welding positions there, the manual welding type positions, but we, I can't remember when we added it, but I would say 5, 6, 7 years ago, we did add a robot. It's a robotic arm, and we use it to weld up our concaves for combines. It's a lot of welding for a person to do, but it really came on. We brought it on when we brought the product on, so it didn't really replace anybody. But there are some areas like that to help us advance in our industry, but
Sure.
But we still have a lot of the traditional welding as well.
Yeah, yeah. So marketing of the parts and making sales, I'm sure that's changed a lot in the last 24 years. With the whole online purchasing. I mean, it used to be it was just books and things like that, and now you can buy pretty much anything online. Talk a little bit about marketing and selling products and how you approach agriculture equipment buyers today versus previous years.
Well, we do sell at several different levels. We have what we would consider our retail customer, which is the farmer. And then we have a dealer market and a wholesale market where people that may have repair shops that repair the farmer's equipment, and we would consider them a dealer. And we sell also at a wholesale level. But on our dealer market, we do have outside salespeople. But mainly, our biggest part of our business is the retail customer. And we produce a catalog every year, a traditional catalog. And that's, I think we mail out 22,000, 23,000 catalogs a year, plus we give out, I think we actually produce around 55,000 catalogs. So the old traditional way is still a big part of our marketing, but we have really started stepping up our presence in the online marketing. And we've actually been doing a lot of work in that area over the last several years, but it's really becoming a big part of our business. We've had most of our growth, if you look at our growth over the last quite a few years, or 5 years or so, our biggest growth is in the online marketing. And we do have a website. We have a dealer website as well, but you have to be a dealer to see that website. But and then we've also been working specifically on the online marketing and have somebody specifically as an online marketing person to help. We're trying to work with eBay and those types of angles as well.
Yeah,
so it's definitely, I would say as a whole, I think the ag market could be a little bit behind the world in that type of market, but it's coming on.
Yeah.
And so we really feel like we need to be there.
Well, the demographics of your customer might push that a little bit. Might cause
exactly. And it's I like to say that the ag to me used to be an art form years ago, but it's becoming more of a science. With GPS and everything, the new equipment, it's getting pretty sophisticated.
Yep, absolutely.
So our end user is getting more sophisticated too, and more familiar with computers. And even though the average age of the farmer has been going up, I still think that technology is stepping in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's pretty interesting. So, are there areas of the country that you don't sell a lot of parts in, and what are the areas that you seem to, at least geographically, if you get a sense of where the customer base is?
For us, our customer base, and it's been since I started there, actually the base for us would be the Nebraska, Missouri, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, obviously, and Colorado. But now we've really been expanding. We first added our California store, I think it's back in 95 or something like that. It's been longer than I thought, but so we have a pretty good presence out there. But I'd say that our biggest presence have been more where we've been growing is by adding this. We had a location in Iowa, and we moved that to our South Dakota store, and we feel like that's a big area up there that we can try to tap into because they're more like our demographics.
Yeah.
But we have been working on the East Coast too because of our East Coast store, but it's a little more. Our geographic map here is bigger, but out there it's more like South Carolina and Georgia and just a few states.
Sure.
California is a little more that way too, but we've got a pretty big stamp here.
Yeah.
We just feel like the central.
So the plain states are still where it's at as far as,
for us,
concerned.
that's the biggest part of our business. But we do sell internationally as well. We sell everywhere. We've sold a lot of places. But this is our main area.
Yeah. So new aftermarket parts. I mean, where are they coming from? Where are they? The ones that aren't manufactured in-house. Where are they coming from?
Well, you always hate to admit it that we do buy quite a few of our parts overseas, but we actually looked at that within the last year or so, and I'd say 75 to 80% of our parts still come from the United States and locally. So we sell a lot of parts from the United States, but there are some that to be competitive, we feel like we have to do that some. But we do try to, and obviously I said earlier we have an engineering department. We're really trying to maintain the quality too.
Right.
For our end user.
So they do more quality control sort of stuff rather than
we have we do have what I'd call the engineering part of the department. That is, they do a lot of the design when we're wanting to resource parts and stuff, but we also have QC people in the department to make sure both our internal QC as for some of our shops as well as external, and that doesn't mean just overseas parts. That means we're trying to make sure all of our parts are quality.
Yeah.
So.
Well, boy, we've covered a lot of ground. No, no pun intended on the tractor side. But question about in general, you talk about selling overseas. Are there certain types of farm equipment that's manufactured exclusively in Europe or the Far East that you really don't get involved in, or is by and large ag equipment is similar across the entire?
I would say that for us, what we're targeting, it is pretty much similar. I mean, there are some differences between European tractors and U.S. tractors and stuff, but we actually kind of got a little bit more into the export market, or trying to get into it over the last couple of years. But there's a lot of similarities in the parts. We're not necessarily having to manufacture parts just for overseas. We're able to have a lot of the parts. I think a lot of the main components are the same, but some of the exterior parts and stuff might be a little different, or but
so a John Deere here is the same as a John Deere
pretty much
anywhere.
It's still green.
It's still green. Yeah. Okay. Well, John Deere, I imagine, is still the biggest. They've got the largest part of the market, and so therefore that would be where the largest part of our market is as well. And you guys do resale equipment as well, some larger pieces. So it's not just pieces and parts. It's actually
and we do. And if you drive by, you'll see the resale equipment. It's like seeing a dealership, but it's all used equipment. But between the machinery and our salvage operation, which is still a part of our business, is still about 25% of our business. So
sure, that's awesome.
So plays an important role.
Yeah. So what do you think is in the future? I mean, we've covered a lot of things from marketing and where do you see? I mean, not to give away any secrets on where you're going, but where do you kind of see the market changing in the next, let's say, 10 years?
Actually, right now, we're obviously affected by the markets and the weather and things like that, but right now the ag economy is down. It's really flattened out, and so I would say in the next 3 to 5 years especially, it's a good time for us, because I really feel like when prices are up and stuff, it is easier for the farmers to build relationships with the OEMs and to actually buy their parts and stuff there. But when things start getting tight, we have obviously our natural aftermarket parts buyer. Well, he may graduate a little bit to the used parts to try to help save money, and we hope the people buying from the OEMs will graduate down, or not down, but across to the aftermarket parts as well. So when the economy's down, I feel like it's an opportunity for us. And when it hits bottom, I think it's tough for everybody because nobody wants to fix anything unless it's broke. But when it's going down or going back up, it's kind of an ideal time for us. So I think the next few years could be positive for us.
Sure, awesome. Well, I think we'll try to wrap it up here a little bit. I mean, we've covered a lot of ground, a lot of things, but if somebody who's watching this wants to know more about Abilene Machine, maybe some of the jobs that are available, is just curious, where would they go to find out more information about it?
Well, I definitely, I would encourage anybody to talk to our HR department, call out and talk to them. We always have positions open, and like I said, we've really tried to work hard over the years to become a little bit more of an employer of choice. We try to stay competitive, and obviously it's the rural markets, but we feel pretty comfortable about our company and would encourage anybody to apply, because just like I said earlier, we've always got expansion going on, and we've even talked recently about it, maybe expanding our IT department, things like that. So there's just a lot of opportunities, and people ought to contact us because I don't think they always know. They think of us as the salvage yard, and it's just
exactly.
We've got a whole range of positions. So.
Well, I've found that anytime you drive by a large building that's a manufacturer, unless you actually get into the nuts and bolts of it, you really don't know the types of things that are being done in your own backyard and the type of jobs people do. And I think that's getting to know those things is kind of it's kind of what drives the economy. It's what drives the community, and so it's always good to learn about those things. So, well, I appreciate your time today.
Thank
Mike.
you.
And once again, I think AbileneMachine.com is the website. So
yes.
Go there if you have any questions or curious about what it's all about. Anyway, I'd like to just wrap it up by saying it's springtime. Tomorrow is the first day of spring. It also happens to be my birthday, so it's kind of nice.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah, well, thank you. And actually today is also my anniversary. So as a male, it's very important to put those two things very close together so you don't forget either one. So
yeah, you're in trouble if you do.
Oh, exactly. Well, either way. So anyway. Okay, well, this has been Our Town. I'm James Holland, your host. We will see you next month.